Hey, what's up, and welcome back to the Relationship School's Smart Couple Podcast. I'm your host, Jayson, and I'm psyched to be here with you on this crazy ride called life. This podcast is all about partnership, relationship, connecting, love, intimacy, sex, and having a more fulfilling life through fulfilling partnership. That applies, of course, to fulfilling friendships, work relationships, family relationships. Things you learn here will be directly applicable to other relationships in your life, and we focus on the primary one. So it's for singles, it's for couples, it's for partnered individuals like you. Thanks for coming back, and welcome if you're new. In this episode, I've got Adam Gilad, who's on podcast number 29. So you can go to relationshipschool.net/podcast 29 to listen to that interview. It's a very lively one. I'm having Adam back because he's running the Inspired Man Summit. He's helping men live more bold, inspired lives. And part of it's in response to the Me Too movement that you've seen and heard so much about. Thank God women are just charging ahead with their rage and heart and tears for us men to listen more deeply. So thank you, women, for that. And God, it's so intense right now. And I just really honor and appreciate everyone that's been impacted and hurt by men, including other men. That's me, myself. So Adam was inspired by the Me Too movement to create a Facebook group for men in response to the Me Too movement. He learned some things, and then he decided to gather a bunch of men's leaders together to help men, wake up and become better men. So I wanted to have him on to not only promote his event, because I'm one of the teachers, along with 31 other guys. I also just think he's a great guy who has a lot of good things to say about what's going on currently in the political climate, the gender wars, and just as men, how do we do life better? So this is going to be a good one, and you can learn more about Adam on his website, adamgilad.com, or the inspiredmansummit.com. And if you listen carefully, we're going to have a special link at the end for you if you want to get the recordings, because the Inspired Man Summit now is over, but Adam's extended his deadline to us and you, the Smart Couple Podcast listener. If you want access to $1,500 worth of recordings from 31 teachers on everything from money to sex to power, intimacy, relationships, you can get that deal, okay? So just stay tuned to the end for your action step and the links, and I look forward to hearing your feedback on this one. All right, welcome to the show, Adam Gilad.
Hey, Jayson, how are you, man?
Good, brother. Great to see you.
Great to see you.
Thanks for doing this men's summit, man. You are in it right now, helping so many people, and we're going to get into that today. But before we get into how you're evolving male consciousness, I want to talk about you a little bit, just so the listener has a refresher. You've been on the podcast before. Early on, it was like in the 20s, I think. Oh, wow. And you kicked ass. We had a very lively conversation. And just tell me, what is going on? I want to zoom out about what is going on with men right now.
That's pretty far out.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's really zoom out for a second. Let's look historically first. I think we have to start.
Great.
Everything starts with economics, and economics have changed. Women are empowered. They not only have their feminine power, but now they got a whole bunch of masculine power too. I worked on Wall Street. I worked in Hollywood. I worked in the music industry, and there are very powerful women out there, and they're very effective in business. When I went undergraduate to Cambridge University in England, there were 15 men to every one woman there. It was hard as an American guy to be there. Now women outnumber men there, as with most first-rate universities. So on an economic scale, men are being displaced in a certain kind of way. Of course, that opens new opportunities. However, any group that feels threatened, that feel their obvious power, grip on power weakening, they're going to get defensive. They're going to get resentful. They'll even get hostile. And we're seeing that in the response to the Me Too movement, because there's a lot of pent up kind of rage and confusion for men. And by the way, I think you also see that in the Trump voters, the supposed working class whites who feel threatened because economically, this is a really tough economy now for people who don't have highly marketable skills. So there's a lot of rage there. Mm-hmm. So that's the economics of it. And then the culture of it is, men have lost their traditional masculine role, more or less. I mean, we're still physically protective, obviously, with our families. But the value of brute force isn't that valuable anymore, as it was, say, 3, 10, 50,000 years ago. And so the protective role has come under question. The bread making role, definitely coming under question. I happen to love women who make a lot of money. Doesn't threaten me, but some guys feel really threatened by that, right? It's a threat to their notion of masculinity. And just as a foreground to what we're going to talk about, I did this summit to bring out varied models of positive masculinity, because I think a lot of guys just, it's hard. It's a hard time. And there's nothing wrong with guys who just don't have a grip on all the ways you can be a great man and an admirable man and live your inspired life that may not fit with the, sort of 1950s version of what it is to be a man.
Yeah.
So there's a cultural impact that comes out of economics, obviously. I think that's the start. I think it's economics and cultural. And then, of course, women who are empowered are going to challenge some of the grosser aspects of traditional male control of society and traditional male control of women. I mean, listen, this may blow your mind. When I was born, women could not get their own credit cards. Their husband had to sign off. I believe that happened in the 60s. Whoa. I have to double check that, but I read that.
It's fucked up.
Women got the vote like 100 years ago. It's not that long ago.
Right.
So, women are feeling very empowered, as well they should. Some will be vengeful, like anyone who's let out of a cage. Some will enjoy that. Many are not. Many are like, hey, I'm empowered. Come be empowered with me. And that was the point of doing this summit. I definitely don't have all the answers, but you and Satyan Raja and Mike Dillard and Brad Blanton and John Gray and Robert Glover. There's a council of wise men here. Lion Goodman, Chris Kyle. These are great teachers, and everyone kind of brings their own angle to what it is to be an empowered, inspiring, and conscious male in this culture. And they're really different. So that was my goal, to bring forward really positive models of being a man. And as you and I were talking about earlier, it was also super selfish. I just wanted to talk to all my friends and connect over, hey, what's going on right now in the culture? Like, how can we be of service? What are you thinking about? What value can you bring out to this conversation? Because I wanted to hear it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just a quick thing. As you know, I started a group to talk about Me Too a few months ago because I was really disturbed. And the women in my life over the last, few years have all been assaulted and or raped and certainly abused in their lifetime from childhood. And it's, I kind of grew up innocent and, healthy suburbia, didn't see anything. Where I grew up, I'm going to blow your mind again, listeners, if you're under 40, we knew one divorced family.
Wow.
And they were like spooky. They moved out from Brooklyn and there was a mom and her son. It was so weird. It's been very disturbing to me to like really have the impact of the women I know, and I teach women as well, and to hear their stories. So when the Me Too thing broke, and I've worked in Hollywood for a long time, I've not had any of those experiences. I haven't worked at that high a level. I was really disturbed. Yeah. And then I was really disturbed by a lot of men's reactions. So I started this forum called Men Meet Me Too on Facebook, and it was harrowing for me because there was a lot of male rage about, hey, we're suffering too, and men do suffer as well. One of the guests on the summit is Dr. Warren Farrell.
I'm sure he does brilliant stuff around men. Absolutely.
Around men's pain, right? He's really the best.
Yeah, he's the best.
And so we had that voice. And in the forum, I had to use my best skills to go, hey, guys, I totally get what you're saying. You've got pain too, but this is about Me Too. Can we hear what women are saying? Can we just step back before we get defensive or angry or point out the extreme voices from, I don't know what to call them, radical women, radicalized women or really angry women or totalizing women who use just terms like toxic masculine. Wow, that's a scary word, compound term. And and stop reacting to those voices and really just listen to what's going on, because this is a major shift. This is, I hope it's continuing. In my view, it's the equivalent of 1964 for African Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a dream. This is like a wake up for men to go, holy shit, our sisters, our friends, our colleagues, our girlfriends, our wives, our daughters, are fucking, can I say that? I don't know what your language is. Are getting ravaged, are getting hurt, are getting raped, are getting abused. And let's wake up to that. So that was my goal, to like wake up to this. And part of this waking up is what I call the return to the positive masculine, and bringing voices like yours and the other 31 guys, teachers, to men, so they could really dive deep into different aspects of the positive masculine.
Yeah. I'm just out of curiosity for the listener, what are some of the defensive male arguments against the Me Too movement that would actually, like, I'm just so curious what the storyline is there.
How much time you got? Here we go. Because I'm sure you
just
get
give me
it, right?
just a couple. We don't need to get too deep into that. Well, I'm curious because men, it's always interesting to me that men get defensive here. I'm like, okay, let's hear what you're defensive about.
So the one, there's deflection. It's not me. I didn't rape Hollywood starlets. So they'll take the extreme, and my view, and many of the people in the summit and psychologists I know, you're one of them. Actually, you're a psychologist. Get what that, what? Okay. Well, you've done a lot of great work.
But I love psychology.
Okay. When someone does that, often they're hiding shameful thoughts or histories. Mm-hmm. I have not always been on my best behavior with women growing up. I learned adolescent sexuality from popular culture. I probably pushed when I shouldn't have when I was younger. I can think of one case when I first got divorced, single back in 2000. I met someone at a convention and she was flirting with me, and I went back and we went back. We ended up going to bed together. I was so happy because I'd been married for 17 years and this was amazing. And then she started crying and I was blown away. I'm like, I thought this was good. So, sexuality is a complex thing. I think men who deflect don't want to look at their own shadow selves. We've got a beast inside of us, to varying degrees. Yeah. Kingsley Amis, who's a great British writer, said when he got to his mid-50s, he felt as if he had been chained to a maniac for 35 years. And I think when you hit mid-50s, you'll see what that means. It's just like all that. I remember David Data once said to me, we were at a conference and he looked out and people were asking about sex and sex and sex. And he just laughed and he said, in a few years, this isn't going to matter to you like this anymore, and he's really right. So I think men don't want to look at their, maybe their own past, maybe they've done things they're not so proud of. Certainly, I have to pretty much say every guy has had thoughts that they're not proud of. Yeah. Right? Rape fantasies, ravage fantasies, God knows what, family members, cousins, kids, who knows? Sexuality is a wild beast. So it's the first is kind of deflection. People don't want to deal with it. The second is just a rhetorical ploy. It's like, hey, you're saying all men are bad. Screw you. I'm good. I support my family. I work hard, and they don't even want to deal with. They
somehow take it personal and get defensive there.
Right, because they've spent, and I'll say something about this. They spent their whole life building an identity. Right. Without getting too much into ayahuasca, because you and I can talk about that for hours. I always talk about, I've been teaching men for a long time. We spend the first half of our lives defining our identity. It's like, I always talk about, it's like climbing a roller coaster, right? It's like, chug, chug, chug. That sound? It's like, this is my identity. Look at me. This is my identity. This is my identity. And then you hit a certain point in life. People call it midlife crisis. I call it midlife awakening. And you realize that your identity doesn't mean shit, okay? Uh-huh. It's good that you've been in service. It's good that you've created this identity in the world, but you reach the top of that hill and now you're looking down. And dude, that's going down. Yeah. Like you're heading toward death and you get that. And suddenly identity doesn't seem so important. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of guys who are trying to maintain their identity
themselves maintain their identity
are really threatened. And the rhetorical ploy is, it's like these fucking people on Fox. As soon as someone hears one sliver of something, they jump on it, like something offensive or something that's overstated. And there's a lot of overstatement in the Me Too movement, right? Sure. The women about toxic masculinity, you have to believe women.
All men are, this is how men are, blah, 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 blah.
And things that are just patently wrong. Yeah. Like you have to believe women when they tell you a story. You actually don't. Like generally, there's probably truth, but there's something called due process when someone is charged, like criminally.
Sure.
Jordan Peterson's obviously made a big name in trying to keep that conversation steady to some effect. He's great. He's controversial. Sometimes he overstates because I think he's cranky, basically. I think he's the pissed off dad of the men's movement. That's how I see him. But it's important with the guys I moderate is to not get caught up in the extremes of the rhetoric of the other side, right? And to stay with the stories, man. Stay with the stories.
Right. Whatever happened to just listening? Like, oh, God, that happened to you? Let me listen and hear you out.
Men are not good at that.
I
Have
know.
you heard?
I try to teach that, yes, all day long.
Yeah, there's deep listening, which you talked about, I believe. Rich Litvin, who is, I don't know if you've had him on your show, but he is one of the most profound and deep listeners in the world. He's a coach of coaches, and he teaches something literally called deep listening. And then something was said by one of our guests, Charles Eisenstein, who is brilliant. And he kind of brought it all down to one sentence, which blew me away. It really blew me away. It kind of, to me, brought the whole summit, all these 33 classes down to one sentence, which is this question. What does it feel like to be you? What does it feel like to be you? Just start asking that question of each other.
It's a great one. Yeah. Honey, my partner, what does it feel like to be you? Tell me more of what it was like to be harassed or what it was like to grow up and having guys just stare at you all day fucking long.
Right.
You know?
So, so those are some of the reasons, guys. And then there's the other one.
I got another one.
Wait, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll insert it after you go.
Oh, men have gotten fucked over on divorces, and boy, are they angry.
Those guys are very angry. I noticed that. It's like,
and you know what? God bless them. They should be angry. I mean, my wife.
Yeah, but do you want to stay angry?
No, of course. But I understand their anger. I'm saying.
Sure.
I understand that it doesn't help them, but they have, they stew in that. I got married very young, and we had a really amicable divorce, and there was no, it was all like, let's just help each other. Let's just get through this. We outgrew each other. We got married very young. So I haven't gone through that. But man, oh man, there are guys who their lives are given over to, men's rights, not in the way it's used in the popular culture, but the rights of fathers. If my wife decided to try to take my kids away from me, or I could only see them every other weekend, I don't know what I would have done. Yeah.
Well, and certainly there are those cases where that happens, and then the money thing, and it's loaded. I get it.
Yeah. All right, you got one. What do you got?
So one of the ones I notice about men is mommy issues. Just men who have huge unfinished business with their mom and the feminine, and then the feminine inside from disowning that because they got made fun of as a kid. If you cry on the playground, you're a pussy, you're a girl, or a sissy, you're gay. So all of that charge goes to this utter disdain for that part of themselves, and then it gets projected outward. Not to mention, if you did have a complicated, strained, or weird relationship with your mom, which a lot of boys have weird relationships with their mom, it just plays out in adult life with this very mixed relationship with women. So I just, a lot of male rage is like mom.
It's really true. I'm smiling a little. I probably shouldn't, but I remember last time I was home, my mom just turned 89, and she was an amazing, perfect 60s, 70s mom, was into encounter groups and supportive and helped out at school. And she was terrific. In her later years, she's gotten a bit cranky. And my son said to her, "So are you proud of your son?" And she looked at me and she goes, "Well, I'm proud of all my children." She couldn't say yes. Luckily, I'm okay internally. I can deal with it.
Right.
But
right.
One of our speakers in the summit is Dr. Robert Glover. I'm sure you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's been on the podcast.
I'm not surprised. He's great. He talks about how men dissociate themselves from their masculine when they have a mother who's overbearing or tries to make the son serve them, fall in love with them, or they have fathers that they have problems with, distant fathers or abusive fathers. So there's a lot of unresolved, absolutely, feelings with men around women, and being a man, they're just angry. They don't have a grounding of what it means to be a man. So like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I think over 31 people, really great teachers from different aspects of life. Mm-hmm. I think people will find their teachers. That was part of my goal. Hey, find your teacher. Yeah. Like, find who speaks to you. Do you want really depth and presence? I've got some amazing people. Yeah. Eli, who you might know. Sachin, of course. I have business people who are great leaders. Yannick Silver, who came from Russia as a kid with nothing. Yeah. And he now works with Richard Branson, bringing entrepreneurs to Puerto Rico. They're going soon to bring entrepreneurs to solve the problems after the hurricane, since the government ain't helping. So they do cleanup oceans around the world, and they've been to Africa. So Yannick uses entrepreneurship in its beautiful service way. So there's lots of different ways of being a man. And we have people who are very gentle, like John Gray, who actually has just had surgery. So his session will come in May. But Arjuna Ardagh, people who are really into what does it mean to be a conscious man, who can really sit with a woman's pain. It ain't easy. There's a lot of pain out there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of pain.
Yeah. So male conditioning, say something about just how, again, my take here is men are conditioned a certain way as boys, and then it becomes a prison later in life.
Yeah.
How do you recommend men deal with that?
Yeah, it's so funny. I was just writing about that this morning. I said, when I was a boy, I heard, hey, Adam, you have to be strong and protect your sisters. Hey, Adam, you have to be strong and be there for your mother who lost her daughter when I was a little kid. Hey, Adam, you've got to be a tough guy and fight these bullies. You can't run away. Hey, Adam, you've got to make something of yourself. And then I wrote, no one actually said those things to me. Like they were voices in my head. They were internalized. Clearly I had picked up enough signals. So guys, if people didn't actually give you these messages, they come through. And they come through in movies and TV as well.
Yeah.
How do you untangle sort of a monolithic masculine?
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what I'm doing. Because look, I have a hard side. I'm a fighter. I was really small as a kid. I did martial arts. I wanted to defend myself. I grew up with tough kids. As I got older, mafia kids started moving out to our little suburbs, right? So I had to get a little tougher. And then my brother was very rageful because of the loss of our sister, for whatever reason. He's not now. But so I had to develop a tough side, but I had a very sweet, tender side where I loved beauty and I loved sitting by the brook at my grandmother's farm and just listening, looking at the light and listen. I had a very tender, sweet nature. I liked poetry and I liked art and all those things. And I loved athletics. The key is to find your true inspired self. There's a reason I didn't call this the tough guy summit, right? Or the monolithic masculine summit.
The macho summit, right?
Yeah, there are guys online who are very popular and run very expensive weekends that I look at their videos, which are very well produced, and they're just fucking full of rage. And I'm like, this is not my teacher.
Yeah.
So the core of what I did with the summit is to bring different teachers so people can find who inspires them. Thus the Inspired Man Summit. Find your teacher. There are lots of models of the positive masculine. So you have to, I think therapy helps. I think coaching helps. I think workshop weekends help. We're doing a few around this subject. I think ayahuasca helps, but we're not going there. But yeah, psychedelics have come up in a few of the sessions because they genuinely help people, guys especially, break the hold of their thought patterns. I wrote a whole section of a book called Pummeled into Love, which is about my experience over 2 years with ayahuasca, this plant that grows in the Amazon, that keeps the truth. And I called it Pummeled into Love because it literally pummeled my ego until I realized there's no ego. There's nothing inside. There's nothing here to defend. There's no thing. I'm in flow in life. What's real for me? Like, what am I choosing rather than what am I trying to defend? And that changed my life. My kids said I was never angry after that.
Wow. Yeah, it's powerful. It was for me as well. How do we help men? I know you're doing this with the Inspired Man Summit, but how do you really help men? This is kind of the $1 million question that women ask. How do you help men that don't want help?
How do you help anybody who doesn't want help? I don't know if you've dealt with addiction. Have you dealt with addicts?
Oh, yeah.
What do they say there?
You don't.
Yeah. If you're addicted to your ego, you sit with them and say, hey, tell me what it feels like to be you. I tell you, I love this sentence. It's my new favorite sentence. Hey, what's going on? Tell me what it feels like to be you.
Yeah.
Because most people, unless they're pathological, have a heart and they're defending.
Absolutely. And they're all worthy of love and they're beautiful people inside somewhere in there.
Yeah, generally. There's a few out there.
Fair enough.
Not many. I don't know what the population of sociopaths or psychopaths are, but there's some people who aren't. But pretty much almost anybody. I haven't been personally involved, but I follow the Israeli Arab thing pretty closely. And when they sit down, when these teenagers from the West Bank and Israel sit down together, they end up hugging, and because they're people. They're people. Everybody feels pain. So tell me what it feels like to be you, and then fucking just listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's it.
That's brilliant. What do you want women to know about us men right now, the women that are listening? Because there's a lot of women that are still very upset with us as a gender And I know that's a giant generalization, but that's true. That some women will blanket all men. Men are this way. So, what do you want women to know?
Yeah.
What you're
Well,
learning,
look,
about
if
all
you
these
got beat up
guys.
by an Eskimo when you were a kid, you're probably going to have emotional charge around Eskimos. Not that Eskimos are, Inuits rather, are so hostile. So if a woman has been abused, raped, coerced, or made to feel whatever by a guy, she's going to have that emotional charge. What I would say to women is what I would say to anyone about anybody. Everyone has inclinations to do good. Everyone has inclinations to not do good, to do bad. All we can do as a species, because we're kind of teetering on the edge of that good, bad thing, is encourage the good. If you shame people for the bad, they're going to get worse. Brene Brown's been really amazing on that. Shame will just send people back into their cave.
Yeah, shaming men, in other words, isn't going to help probably the situation here.
No, I mean, it will wake up some people, I think, but it won't wake up the people you really want to wake up. I think, I remember one of my female coaching students, I told her I had a product for men called Instant Confidence for men who didn't feel confidence, how to behave confidently on dates and stuff like that and find their confidence. And she goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Men are incredibly confident." I said, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah, they always know what they're doing." And I was like, wow, there's a lot women really don't understand about men. When I do my live events and I meet guys from different cultural traditions around the world and around the country, I mean, I was kind of innocent when I started this work. I did it because I was inspired to get smarter and deeper around these things. But boy, are people carrying sexual shame, financial shame around being a man. There's a lot of pain in men as well. So I think we're coming back to the same answer. Hey, tell me, what does it feel like to be you? And listen.
Yeah. Awesome. So transition us into, you've mentioned it a couple times, and I just want to really drive it home here. Why did you do the Inspired Man Summit, and what's it for? Like, what do we need to be doing out there? What's going on?
What's it for was to bring, including you, bringing men who I actually admire, like, and who I think lead inspired lives as models for men who may be confused. Maybe they're in a dead end job. Maybe they're just uninspired. Maybe they, became an engineer because their father wanted them to become an engineer. Maybe they've just been running on, what do you call? What's that physical force? Momentum.
Okay.
Yeah, like they're just, momentum. They're just rolling along, and they want to live an inspired life, which is my whole brand. It's exactly what I have. I mean, I'm here in the Caribbean right now because I like to get out of my comfort zone and experience the world. And it's always been a dream of mine to travel and write and learn. And my kids have graduated college, so I'm free. So first is to find a model of positive masculinity that suits you. Guys, find your teacher. Listen to each teacher. Everyone is wise. That's the overarching goal. The second kind of secret goal was to maybe start something of a movement because of what I call the return of positive masculinity, which is maybe arrogant of me to say. I don't hold myself as I'm the return. Although I'm actually returning to my own positive masculinity in my own life. I was out of integrity a few years ago, and I suffered for it deeply. And so this is actually part for me to reground myself in the man I want to be.
So you're holding yourself accountable as well.
I have been holding myself accountable for a couple of years, my friend.
Yeah.
And if I'm staking myself as, hey, I'm, friends, colleagues, co-teacher with these amazing teachers and men, I got to watch my shit. I got to make sure that I've got the discipline to stay in the life of integrity and vision that I say I do.
Yeah, I love that. Same over here, married, kids, teaching about relationship.
And every time you fight with your wife, it's like,
every fucking day is a great workshop for me, and just to stand in it. It's beautiful.
We could talk about that for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a personal element for me. Also, as part of my kind of reemergence after spending a very quiet year of sort of regrounding myself in who I want to really be, I wanted to talk to my friends. I wanted to talk to guys like you and these amazing teachers and just connect really deeply with inspired men. And that was kind of a subtext in the back of my mind. And of course it worked. I'm full of fire right now. I'm so inspired. I'm so happy. I feel so fulfilled. I don't know where this is all going. I can tell you that once word got out about the summit, I got bombarded by guys. Hey, can I get in? Can I get in? Can I get in?
I'll bet.
These are great guys. And I said, you know what? We'll do another one maybe in the fall, because there are a lot of good teachers. And my belief is variegated, right? Find your teacher. There's no one model of the positive masculine. You know, there's so many
flavors.
What? There are a lot of flavors. And one of the things I said in one of the sessions was, hey, is the guy who sits, do you have a daughter?
Yes.
Yeah. So is the guy who sits and does tea time with his daughter, you know, with a little toy tea set, is he any less a man than the guy who's got his black belt in jiu-jitsu, right? Or a firefighter?
Right.
Of course, he's giving his beautiful daughter a sense of what an attentive man is. Hopefully she can follow up on that in her life. You know, is the guy who, you know, I'm thinking of Jack Kornfield, for example, who is one of my favorite teachers. I tried to get him, but we couldn't get him this time. Too busy. He tells stories about sitting in hospice with people who are dying. You know, is the guy who sits in hospice with people who are dying the man who is single and is taking care of his dying mother, you know, who's in her 80s or 90s? You know, is he less of a man than the guy who's out pumping iron, making tons of money, dominating other people? No, of course not. Yeah. And, you know, I think that's really what we're after here, is to reach guys and say, hey, you know, let's get away from the cultural norms a bit. Here are some models of bold, inspired men. Find your teacher.
Mm-hmm. So great. And again, 31 flavors to choose from, it sounds like.
31 and me. Yeah, so 32.
32. Sweet.
I did kind of summary. I kind of put it all together and kind of put it into context, going back to my academic background. So I said, well, here's how you clear your mind based on a lot of stuff we talked about. Here's how you clear your mind from the internal and external voices so that you can actually find your true inspiration. Mm-hmm. And we have 16 actual methods of connecting with what really inspires you, coming out of what we did together.
So cool. Yeah. Adam, where, you know, when this comes out, the summit will, I think, be nearly over.
I think it may be over.
Yeah. Where should we direct people?
Because Jayson, you were a partner in this and you were so valuable. And we didn't get to do this until too late. People can get it for $97, which is a really good deal. You're getting 33 hour-long deep dive sessions with 33 great teachers. And there's about $1,000 of additional advanced trainings that various teachers have donated. So you get a full education and you get it for life. You get I call it a Netflix of positive masculinity.
Awesome. Yeah, that's totally right on. So should we do a time-limited link?
So everybody, you can get it for $97 for 2 weeks afterwards. And I will leave it up. I'll leave that link up, Jayson. And we'll come up with a slightly higher, but not full price for people who hear this a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now. Hopefully, people will be listening to you for a long time.
Cool. That's really generous. Thanks, Adam. Well, dude, thanks for all you're doing in the world and helping us men, you know, expand and be inspired and live according to, you know, the inner compass inside and just love the world more. So thank you.
It's the only way I know how to live, man. I don't know why we're here if we can't do that, honestly.
Yeah. I'm so with you. Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right. Are you an inspired man? If not, go check out this summit. It's, again, too late for the live summit, but Adam's doing an amazing thing and giving you a deal here to go check out the recordings for a small fee. Loads and loads of wisdom from all these amazing teachers. Like he's saying, find your teacher. Okay, maybe you don't resonate with me. Well, some of these men I've had on the podcast, John Wineland, Satyen Raja, I've had Adam on there. I've had Robert Glover on there. So I've had several of the guests that he has in his lineup as well, if you want to dig in more. All right. So remember, go to relationshipschool.net/inspired, and that's going to take you to the Inspired Man secret hidden page just for you men that will give you a lot more. All right. And for a limited time, again, he's charging $97. That price goes up after 2 weeks here at that link. Okay. So your choice if you want to invest or not. And I hope this was helpful. And here is to helping us men wake up and evolve. All right. I've been through a tremendous amount from, honestly, I feel like I was a pretty narcissistic, self-absorbed, defended guy because of my history. And somehow I was able to burn through that and shed all of that armor and become a heart-centered, loving husband and father. So if I can do it, I know you can do it. And you just got to want to do it. That's the big issue with us guys, is if you don't want to transform yourself in your life, it's probably not going to happen for you. But you can, I guarantee, if you want it. And connect it to your why. Like, why would I even bother? Why bother? Well, because more fulfillment awaits on the other side. Every time I've fallen apart, gone through something hard, on the other side of that, I feel more connected to myself, more in my integrity, and more alive in my life, because I was pretty depressed for a long time. Okay? All right, folks. Thanks so much. And thanks all the women who are listening too that want to help men. I just appreciate you being patient with us and also being enraged with us and whatever other feelings you have given how we behave sometimes. So thanks for your truth and, expressing yourselves. I'm listening. Talk soon.